This is Being on World of X Games.
I never really considered myself to fit in. I was just on my own planet. That is the feeling of being innovative and being at the top. You're paving your own path and you're paving your own way, and you're not fitting in with anything.
This gentleman, Nick Goepper, out of Lawrenceburg, Indiana, grew up on a slope of a vertical drop of 400 feet. Perfect north slopes in southern Indiana, so it just goes to show, no matter where you're from, you can get it done and make it to the X Games.
They now do not allow rental skis in the terrain park, and I always figured that it was because of Nick Goepper, because Nick rented skis one season, and the first time out he went on the terrain park and he returned the skis in pieces because he busted them on a rail. So it was shortly thereafter that there was a big sign posted in the terrain park that said no rental skis allowed.
So Nick Goepper was 15 years old when I first met him, and it was actually at a rail jam in San Jose, California. And I told his dad, honestly, he doesn't have the tricks, but he's got heart. Yeah, I think that he can make it. Went to my partner. I know we don't have any kids. I know we don't have any money.
We can't write a check for $40,000 to send him to a ski academy, which is all great, but we're just not built that way.
That was when it got a little tricky. If we can get this kid to come here, then I think more kids will come. And it was all Tim Wendell, actually, who scholarshiped Nick to go to the academy.
I was so elated when I was hearing this news, that my dream was going to be able to start.
Down into the final jump, here comes a triple for Nick Goepper. That is such a new trick right there.
Going into the 2013-2014 season, there was a lot of pressure on Nick. He had won nearly every other event that there was. Now all of those accomplishments were actually going to be boiled down into a single day of competition in Sochi.
After landing my run at the Olympics, and and it's kind of cynical, but I was disappointed. I was almost had it, almost had that gold. After the 3 American Golden Boys get the medals and smile for the cameras and whatnot, they immediately sent Joss, Gus, and I to New York City to do this week-long media tour.
The Whirlwind PR Tour, Nick drove that, and he wanted to do it.
Nick kept saying, I want to do this, I want more, I want to be available, I want to do the right thing. It just ended up way more than what he should have done.
I just wanted to be as advantageous as possible, right?
At one point, I went back and I counted the number of appearances that he had done, and he'd done 60 events.
He was getting overwhelmed, and he kept going, and he kept going.
Doing all these appearances and obligations and things that didn't really mean much on a large scale, but it was just wearing me out.
The children's librarian, she was asking if he might be available to attend some other function that the city was doing, and she stopped mid-sentence and looked at him and said, I am not going to ask you to do that. You look exhausted. I was too close to it, I didn't see it.
Yeah, it's the post-Olympic hangover, and it's pretty common, I think, for a lot of athletes. They're humans like anybody else, substance abuse or any other issues as athletes search for something maybe to change how that feels.
That summer of 2014, I really experienced this emotional distress and really just started to just slide emotionally. It's real messed up, but I would go to bed at night and I would want the night to be really long. I would literally stay up all night because that was how the time would tick by the slowest, thinking that the morning would never come. And all of a sudden the sun would come up and I'd be another day of feeling this way, and it just sucks.
It could be really lonely, surrounded by a lot of people, not a lot of people that could really relate to where he was at, and he felt guilty about even asking for help at that point.
Athletes tend to underreport those things as compared to non-athletes. And part of it's just, the culture of sport. You're supposed to be tough and those types of things.
I mean, there came a point when I was drinking every day, and I was constantly thinking about ways to end my own life.
He called one night and he said, "Mom, I'm thinking about going to get a bottle of vodka and go sit in my car in Lambs Canyon and drink the whole thing." Lambs Canyon was where another skier had committed suicide. I knew that Nick was in trouble.
She came in, she talked to me, she said, "All right, this is what we got going this week, go book a flight, let's go. I'll take you to the airport in the morning. We're gonna go figure this out." I didn't want to think about the negative outcome.
She'd think I was all good, and then she'd come and hang out with me for a week, stay in a hotel down the street or something, like try and sort of get me back into a good routine. And then I knew immediately after the day that she left, I was gonna go get drunk in my car and just waste the time away. And unfortunately, I took advantage of my mom. I took advantage of my mom's support.
I was trying to figure out how the heck I was going to get through this, because you gotta be strong all the time. Like, wait a minute, I'm not supposed to be having to do this.
We almost lost Nick. He almost killed himself. So it doesn't get any lower than that.
Nick was supposed to have been at a sponsor photo shoot event, and he had never shown up. So the question was, where was he? Nobody knew where he was. We started to make some phone calls, we couldn't find him. We called the USOC counselor. He was afraid that Nick was gone. He figured that Nick had ended his life.
When athletes disappear or things change, then sometimes it's an indication that not all is well.
I was flirting with that idea. I wasn't ballsy or committed enough to actually do it. It was more like a really messed up way of saying, "Help me," but without just saying it to a friend or a family member.
It was kind of like Nick getting into skiing in the beginning. It was Nick getting himself into a situation that made it really easy, because there was no decision. I mean, there was no decision.
The fall of 2015, with the help of my mom, I went to rehab, to a recovery center in Texas for 2 whole months.
So we put him on that plane and off he went.
A huge turning point for me was talking to other people and just befriending other people at this recovery center where I could relate to and I could talk to and I could share similar stories with. That was hugely inspiring. I really started to sort of discover some of those core values that I grew up with. I started exercising more. I just felt stronger and just felt sort of the old me.
It's oh, okay, so now we've kind of figured this out. We're back on the runway. We might veer to the left, we might veer to the right, but we're on the runway and we're gonna get this airplane back in the air.
Honestly, leaving Texas was incredibly scary. I really didn't have a plan. I didn't know what I was gonna do. I had this kind of moment where, I don't know, it just all came back to me.
Once he was clear-headed enough to acknowledge the highs and the lows, the package deal that came with it, he started training again. He started showing up again. He started caring about skiing.
Nick Goepper, 4 X Games Slopestyle medals to his name. He's got 3 goals. He is a fantastic skier, looked so good, so comfortable on this course in eliminations yesterday.
X Games Norway was awesome because I was just like satisfied. I'm back in that like happy place where just I wasn't for a while. I'm back up there. That's where I'm supposed to be.
22-year-old in his 8th X Games appearance, showing why he won 3 consecutive gold medals from 2013 through 2015.
You know, who knows, like maybe I'll never want to talk about it ever again, or maybe I'll want to sort of step into sort of an active role for mental health and just awareness. But right now, that's just part of my story and just something that just happened, and that's just part of Nick.